Welcome to our show, Terry.
Frank, good to be with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
What have you been doing since you ran for the governor of Virginia? I know you corrected me, so that was a 2000.
It was 2009. I ran on a platform of big ideas, things we need to do differently here in Virginia.
So what have you been doing since then?
I said, if you don't like my big ideas, don't vote for me, and they didn't. So I went back to business. So, I've been involved in business my whole life. I started my first business when I was 14, started 30 different companies. I love creating jobs. I've always been big, Frank, on manufacturing. We got to get people back to work. It's the bedrock of our communities.
I've written many papers on the manufacturing. It used to be 10% of it. For 20% of GDP is close to about 10%. We shipped all our job back to overseas.
Yep.
What do we need to do to reignite the manufacturing sector?
Well, it's a great question, and I will say I've done something very unique. Just last week, we opened up my new car plant. I'm building electric vehicles, and I did something very unique, which no one else has done. I actually went to China and bought their most advanced electric car company, and I moved the entire company to the United States of America.
Wow.
All those workers are now here. We just began production. We will sell the first year's generation of cars, about 10,000 cars, to the country of Denmark. I also have a partnership with Domino's, so a Chinese company brought to America, now made by U.S. workers. It's a great story, but we need to be doing a lot more of that.
What incentive do we need to provide for American manufacturers to bring those jobs back to the United States? And I know the president has said many times we got to give them incentive, we got to give them a tax write-off for the capital investment and so on and so forth. But we have not been very successful because of the dysfunctional Congress in some sense.
Well, let's just take Virginia for a second. When I did run for governor, I talked about this. We have to aggressively go after those big manufacturing facilities. We don't here. I think we've been blessed with the federal government, Department of Defense money, but that's being cut. So we got to diversify our economy. So the first plant I have, I wanted to put it here in Virginia. My corporate headquarters is not 100 yards from where I'm sitting, and Virginia didn't even bid on it. Mississippi bid on it very aggressively, so our first two plants are in Mississippi. As you know, I have shareholders, I have a board of directors, I'm the founder and chairman, but I don't control the stock. We got to go where it makes the best opportunity for us. We have to make money, the state has to do well, so we have to get more aggressive. But we get tax incentives on how many jobs we're creating. So it works for the state, it works for me, and by the end of next year, there'll be over 900 new employees making electric vehicles, sort of a 21st century technology.
Make it America.
Made in America. And I tell people, we need to buy, and Domino's did it, they're now delivering in my electric vehicles.
Great.
We should buy Domino's because you know what? They're putting Americans to work.
That's great. I love that story. And thank you for your leadership. Thank you for what you do for our
country. We need more people doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm a strong advocate of this. I know about the green energy. The president is a strong, president is talking about it a lot of times and about the renewable green energy. And a lot of people are skeptical about the potential of green energy. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, you shouldn't be skeptical. We're making money. We're doing fine. But when we talk about green energy, we have to understand we can't continue to import and spend $1 billion a day importing oil from the Middle East. It accounts for half of the trade deficit of the United States of America. We spend $80 billion a year. In addition, our Department of Defense just protecting the straits, like the Strait of Hormuz, where the oil comes through. The health-related costs from the emission, carbon monoxide that comes out of the vehicles. When you add all of those costs, it's a national security, it's a job creation, obviously important for the environment. You put all that together, but I've done it as a private businessman. I didn't take any federal government loans or anything. You can do this as a private citizen, as a business person. You have to be aggressive. It's not an easy thing to do, but we've got to get in that game. We can't allow China to take one more industry from the United States of America and take our technologies, take them to China, steal our technology, and create jobs there. We need them here in America.
In addition to manipulating what you call their currency, our trade is fair with China. It's not fair, but it's a free trade. We have a deficit since the year 2006 with China, $1.4 trillion.
Right. And I'm never going to be one that's going to sit here and trash China because,
I think we need to engage them.
And that's what I'm doing.
That's very, very important to engage them.
Because don't forget, they own about $1.3 trillion of our debt. So they're our banker. Unfortunately, due to the problems we've had economically, they've had to lend us money. Not a good position for us to be in.
Well, they lend us money so we can invade two countries. That's
right.
what we did.
Does make a lot of sense to me. But I should also tell you, so I've got two plants, one operational, one under construction. I'm building a $60 million facility in Tunica. But I also did something very unique. I went to China. We're building a mega plant, 18 million square foot plant in Ordos, China. The deal I cut, those cars have to be sold in America, assembled in China. have to be sold in China, but all the guts are going to be made here in the United States of
Great.
America.
That's a great story.
Sure, you bet.
It should resonate well with the millions of people across
I would
this
hope so. You say,
country.
well, Terry, why do it in China? It's the biggest car market in the world. You've
Yeah.
got to be there doing business. But I force them to say, you're buying it from us.
And unfortunately, the supply chain has been shifted from North America to Asia. And that's
has.
what you're doing. You're
Right.
capitalizing on that.
Right.
I want to shift your focus a little bit about the politics. That's your passion, your commitment.
bet.
You understand the politics.
Right.
I'll talk a little bit Super PAC, which is undermining our democracy. Our democracy has been auctioned off to the fabulously people who are rich, and they are basically, what they're doing is they're advancing their own cause. And don't you think, as a Democratic Party, you should be concerned about that thing? You should be deeply concerned about what's going on with Super
I
PAC?
think every American citizen should be concerned.
You're
I think
absolutely
this is
right.
one of the worst decisions by the United States Supreme Court and the Citizens United.
Yes.
Bush v. Gore, I wasn't fond of that decision either, but this is right up there with one of the worst decisions. You're exactly right, Frank. You could have, as we saw in the Republican primaries, one or two folks giving tens of millions
And
of
Sheldon
dollars.
Ellison is a good example.
That's what I'm talking about. He kept Newt Gingrich alive. The Koch brothers, if you believe what they say, are going to spend upwards of $100, $200, $300 million to defeat President Obama. That is not democracy, that one or two people can pretty much dictate who the nominee will be. And I will tell you, what's dangerous is that we're going to probably compete in about 6 or 7 states in the fall. That's it. It's going to come down to
We're
the
talking about the
basket
swing
states.
states. You're talking, and the independent voter, which is about 9 million.
Right.
That's what's going to boil down the presidency.
You bet. And Virginia's one of those.
Yes.
But
And we need your support.
And if one of those super PACs, and if Karl Rove is indeed true, they're going to raise $600 to $800 million, and that you spend that in only 6 or 7 states, Frank, the dramatic impact that could have on the election. It's horrible for democracy. We need to change it. Let's get more people engaged. Also, what they've done in about 15 states is they've taken voter rights away from people. We did a bill here in Virginia. Why are we making it harder for people to vote? There's no cases of all this fraud going on. Why are we? My mother is 90 years old. She is not going to go get a government ID. She's in a wheelchair. She had a leg amputated. She's voted. Why are we making this more difficult for people to vote? Let's make it easier. That is the core bedrock of democracy.
That is how you participate in a representative democracy like ours.
You bet. And I tell everybody, if you didn't vote, you got no right to complain. I don't understand why so many people in this great country are not registered to vote, or if they are registered, don't exercise their right to vote. Shame on you, and you have no right to complain. If you don't like the way the traffic is out here on this beltway, you don't like the taxes you're paying,
Exactly.
you have no say. You have no right to complain. Your voice is your vote.
Exactly. Now, can the Democrat match the huge advantage the Republican Party have in fundraising? I know you've been instrumental in raising funds for the Democratic Party. Tell me a little about that.
When I was chairman of the party, I'm proud to say we raised about $580 million. We beat the Republican Party for the first time under my 4 years, got our party out of debt for the first time in our party's history, built a new headquarters, our voter files. So, yeah, we can be, and listen, at the end of the day, Frank, we're both going to have a tremendous amount of money to spend, so we will be competitive. But what we can't control are these outside groups who don't have to disclose who their donors are.
There's no transparency, and there's no accountability.
And they have an agenda.
Yeah.
They want to get rid of EPA regulations. They want to do tax. They have an agenda. If you got an agenda, we ought to have full disclosure, know who you are and what your agenda is.
Exactly right. And they're going to advance their cause because they're special interest groups.
Right. And you can say anything they want in these TV ads. So what I try to tell people all the time is, because of that, you got to get registered to vote, and you have to go out on election day. And sometimes I know it's tough, and it's harder. You have someone who's working, maybe 1 or 2 or even 3 jobs on election day. You're exhausted. You see a line at the polling booth. I don't want to wait, but you got to wait. That 2 hours could have the difference. Look at Al Gore. A difference of 537 votes. If you take, I don't believe
Same thing with Ohio with the George W. Bush and with Kerry.
With John Kerry, right?
That Ohio just kind of swing the presidential elections pretty much.
If everybody in this building had voted in Florida for Al Gore would have been president
of the United States.
And we wouldn't have gone into Iraq, and I can give you all different things. We wouldn't have done the gigantic tax cut to the top 1%. Bill Clinton left a $5.6 trillion surplus.
I totally
which
agree.
was gone in 2 years.
Now let's talk about, you're very much involved in politics. Tell the audience why they should be involved in politics.
Because it matters. It really does matter who gets elected. And if our folks stay home and they're folks who are generally energized to come out, and as they say, they're spurred on by a lot of money, then you're going to get people in office who aren't going to fight for you. It matters who gets elections. Elections do matter. Case in point, I made the argument last year here in Virginia. You need to get out and vote. If you don't vote, we're going to lose control of the state Senate. And sure enough, we lost control of the state Senate here in Virginia. And look what they did. Did they go out and fight for jobs? No. They did all this divisive attack on women, all this legislation that they tried to pass down in Richmond attacking women, attacking members of the GLBT community. My point is, we want people in office who are going to help, who are going to create jobs, who are going to help people's lives. Why are we being so divisive? I think we should have a rule, Frank, that in order before you get elected, I want someone who's met a payroll of 5 or 10 or 20 people. I would love someone in office, like I have many times. I've had to sweat out payrolls.
Me too.
Until you've done that,
right.
You don't understand. We have too many people in politics today don't have the first idea. We need jobs in America.
Why should people, tell the audience, why should people contribute to the various candidates?
You know, whether you like it or not, at the end of the day, money is what allows you to get your message out. It allows you to buy the television. It allows you to do the grassroots activities. I don't care if it's $1, $5, $10. A lot of people given significant amounts of money, and lots of people giving whatever they can afford will make the difference. It will help your candidates get elected. I don't ever say, candidates don't run out of good ideas. They end up, they lose, they run out of money. And we got to make sure that the best candidates, whoever you may support, but you got to make sure they have the necessary resources in order to get that message out.
So to make sure your voices are heard, to make sure you have a seat on the table, otherwise you're going to be on the menu.
If you want to sit in the sidelines, then you're going to be in the sidelines through the entire election, and you're going to end up with people who are not going to fight for you. I want someone in government who's going to get out of day, every single day, fighting for the average Joe, trying to make sure that they got a shot at the American dream. Quality. You want to talk about family values? How about a job? How about a quality education for your children? Food on the table? That's what matters to families, and that's what I focus on.
That's what the American dream is.
You bet. I started my first business when I was 14. My folks couldn't afford to send me to college. I wanted to go to college. So I started a business, and I've been doing it ever since. I love it. That is an American success story.
No question about that. You are a great example of the American success story.
Well, so are you. We all, but we want everybody, and I want young people. I want my 5 children to have the same opportunities I had.
Not a guarantee, but an opportunity.
Just yet. No, there are no guarantees.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, let's just shift the job. Let's shift a little bit about our economy is so fragile, so weak.
Yeah.
What do we need to do to create jobs and spur economic growth? Considering the fact that we have a high unemployment rate, low GDP growth, we have highest debt and deficit, what do we need to do to create jobs? And consider the fact that Congress is a deeply dysfunctional and deeply partisan.
Yeah. Get rid of most of the people in Congress. I mean, I don't say that lightly, but it is so dysfunctional. Just look at what's happened in the last 2 weeks.
Exactly.
We wasted our time on a contempt citation against the Attorney General, which meant nothing.
And also repeal and
then the health care bill.
Yeah.
Was never going to change. Why? I'm in a global business. I'm doing cars with China. I'm doing wood pellet operations down in southside Virginia. We're trying to do wood pellets to ship to Europe. I'm competing in Europe. I'm on a global. I know what their countries are doing it. Why am I selling my first-year cars to Denmark? Because in Denmark, if you buy a new car, you have like 160% tax on it, excise tax. They exempt electric vehicles, no taxes at all. So the government's not giving me any money, but they're incentivizing an industry. That's what we need to be doing in America. And this idea today on green or whatever it may be, we got to compete against other nations. The government doesn't create jobs, but they clearly help business.
They facilitate. Government is an essential partner.
That's right. You bet. Can't do it alone. And you can't do it alone in Europe with Airbus and everything else, and you can't do it in China.
And the government provides the framework for democracy to grow, for capitalism to flourish.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about President's chances of winning Virginia. You are a Virginian.
Yes. Today, I mean, it's like
a swing state.
It's a swing state. The poll came out this morning. Today, the president's up 8 points. He has consistently been up. I don't think he's ever been down in Virginia, which is exciting. This is the key swing state. If you asked me the basket of 6 or 7 to narrow that down to 2, I'd do Ohio and I'd do Virginia.
What about Pennsylvania and Florida?
I don't think at the end of the day they put money. They won't compete against us. It's like New Jersey. They always say they'll win it, but they don't. It's really going to be Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, New Hampshire, Iowa.
Colorado and Nevada?
Yep. Those. But the 2 key in that basket, if we win Virginia, we win the presidency. We start out with about 240 electoral votes. We only need 270. They start out with about 192. There's an advantage for us.
Yeah. That is a true
But
statement.
I think he wins Virginia. We got a lot of work to do. I'm worried these super PAC ads have been running day and night here in Virginia. They've been going after Tim Kaine. Hasn't had a negative impact today because both Tim Kaine, Governor Kaine, and President Obama are up. But if we're up 8 today, I feel very good. But we got a lot of work to do.
Well, you got several months to go. It could
bet.
go either way. So let's talk a little bit about the George Allen and Governor Tim Kaine's Senate race. What do you think?
I mean, Tim, it's tight.
It's tight. It's very close.
I'm surprised it's been actually this tight.
Yeah.
I think Tim, who I know well, was a great governor, had to deal with the worst economy of all time, had to cut our budget, but protected those priorities that we needed to in education and so forth. He's got all the new ideas. You watch the debate. Tim is out there with the best ideas. He'll be a great United States Senator. George Allen, I don't see them come up with any new ideas. All they want to do is attack Tim Kaine. The public's sick of it.
Yeah.
Tell me
I
what you're
totally-
going to do for me.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming to our show.
thank you,
I
Frank.
really enjoyed it very, very much.
Thank
and I'm
you.
sure the audience enjoyed it very much. And you're a very engaging person.
Thank you.
Yeah. And that is our show. Thank you for watching. This is Frank Islam from FI Investment Group wishing you a great week.